Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2024 Chevrolet Silverado 3500. We're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to show you how to install the CURT front mount trailer hitch. Adding a front mount trailer hitch to the front of your Silverado is going to allow you to do a couple of different things. First and foremost, a lot of people like to use this for a front mounted winch. If you've got it on a hitch plate, you can slide it in there and use it whenever you're off-roading or stuff like that. You can also mount bike racks up here on the front, snow plows, or maybe even a cargo carrier. Some measurements so you know what you're getting. From the ground to the top inside of the receiver tube is about 14 inches. That's a good measurement to keep in mind if you have a cargo carrier or an accessory that you're wanting to use with this, of how high that accessory will be off the ground. It's going to come with a standard 5/8 inch hitch pin hole. It does not come with a hitch pinning clip, so you will have to pick one of those up in order to secure your accessories. I also like how it is going to fit inside this plastic valance, so it's going to look really good when it's on the front, but it will be behind the front of your bumper, so you don't have to worry about hitting your shins on it. As far as the installation goes, this is a very easy installation. The only trimming it involves is, or any modification to your vehicle that is going to be putting that little notch in the bottom of that plastic. But other than that, it's very, very straightforward and easy. You can definitely do it at home. With that being said, let's go ahead and pull it in the shop and show you how we did it. To begin our installation, you're going to need to be underneath your truck, and we're going to have to take a few of these bolts off. It should be pretty easy for you since our truck does sit a little bit higher off the ground. So on our frame rail, you're going to have two bolts that are holding in your toe loops on the front of your truck. The further back bolt, so the bolt that's closer to the cab of your vehicle, that's the one we're going to be removing on both sides of our frame rail. So we'll take an 18mm socket and wrench and get this bolt removed. Once we get those nuts removed, just slide the bolts right out. Because we're going to be using this hole as one of our attachment points for our hitch, we have to get the stuff out of the way that is going to impede our hitch in order to mount up correctly. So we'll take either a flathead screwdriver, or if you happen to have one of these trim panel removal tools, you just pop that tab out. We're going to push this up so that's out of the way of our hitch being lifted up into place. Take our fish wire, run it through this lower hole in our frame rail. We'll come out the end of our frame rail, slide our big spacer block on there. You want to use the one with the square hole in it because it'll accept our carriage bolt. Then we'll toss our spacer block up through into our frame, and we'll pull our carriage bolt down through the spacer block. Now this can be kind of tricky because GM has put this sticky stuff on the bottom of on the whole frame rail, so if it gets kind of gooey, that's just kind of the nature of the project. But you want to pull that out the center of that hole, and now we can put our other spacer block on. In order to get our outer spacer block to stay in place, you'll just want to put a piece of tape on it, tape it up to the frame rail, and you can poke a hole with it with the fish wire through it, slide it over a bolt, and now it's up in place where we need it to be. Essentially what it's designed to do is to take up the extra space that all these plates are welded to, so that our hitch will sit flat up against the bottom of our frame. Now with an extra set of hands, we're going to lift our hitch up into place. We've got Aiden here to help us. It's definitely a lot easier so you can get the hardware in the correct spot. What we're going to do here is it'll go on the inside of our frame rail. We'll lift up. We'll take our hardware, which will be the long bolts that come in your kit, conical tooth washer. We're going to slide it through that hole in our frame we removed our bolt from earlier. Lift it up and slide it through. Now before we get the rest of our hardware in place, you'll want to mark your front plastic here if you need to. Ours is pushing up on this plastic in the middle a little bit, so we're going to have to trim a small section of it out. They give you a chart or some directions in the instructions, but what I like to do is mark it out, estimate about how much you're going to need, and then trim that, come back, check it again, and just keep trimming little bits at a time until you get the appropriate amount trimmed out for your hitch to fit. The way I ended up trimming it was you just mark on the sides here. That part's pretty easy, but the depth that I went was about up to this crease line. Just cut to there, and it should work out pretty good for you. We'll take the included flange nuts, and thread those on. You'll want to save the 2 nuts that came off of the frame rail because those we're going to put back on up here onto the bolts that we inserted through our frame. Now we'll come back and tighten down our hardware. And once you've got your hardware snugged up, we'll come back and torque down our hardware to the specifications in the instructions. You will want to start with the 1/2 inch hardware first, which is the hardware that goes up into the frame rail, and then we'll do the ones that are in the side. Once you get everything torqued down to the specifications and the instructions, that's going to do it for the installation. Hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the CURT front mount trailer hitch is right for you and your 2024 Chevy Silverado 3500.